Hey, this is Ish, and today I want to talk to you about how meditation or a long term spiritual practice can actually help change and shape your personality type. So, a lot of people associate being in a high vibrational state or being in a more enlightened state to be a very hyperactive state where you're full of energy and you're like, hey, like kind of like a YouTuber who's very excited and it's like, hey, how's it going, guys? Let me just share my love and light and all that. It won't do that for you unless your personality type is already like that. So, meditation in some ways can amplify your already existing personality traits, and then it can also transform some personality traits that are undesirable. So, if you look at a few meditation masters or people who are deemed enlightened, we can look at Mooji or Amma, the hugging saint. You can notice that certain personality types are the same while others are radically different just based on their natural personality. So Mooji and Amma, for example, they emit a sense of warmth whenever you look at them on YouTube videos or see them in person, and they just have an open personality about them. They give off this very inviting presence, and they're just welcoming of other people just by their presence alone. So they don't have to say anything, but you can just tell that they're just open, warm, and receptive. Now take Eckhart Tolle. He is also an enlightened teacher, and he teaches meditation courses and classes and workshops. And although his method of enlightenment just happened to be all of a sudden rather than following a meditation practice long term, he has recently done more meditation, and you can just tell by his presence that he has reached a stage of realization or enlightenment. But his personality type is a lot different from Muji or Amma. So you can tell that he's a bit more closed off in nature and a little bit more cold. So just more reserved rather than open. And although that's a case, he does have other qualities such as being very humorous and being very light. So some things I talk about in common personality traits of high vibrational people, and you can check that out in my other talks, is that they have certain qualities in common. So for him, it's humor and lightness that he shares with a lot of other enlightened teachers. But for him personally, his personality is a bit more cold, more standoffish, and that's kind of how he manifests that in an enlightened or realized state. So just realize that everyone is different, and meditation will bring out that part a little bit more. So Osho, for example, before he kind of went off the rails and did some crazy things, he had this more like out of the box, radical kind of thinking, and that kind of just came out a bit more and more as he started to teach more and started to embody his meditation a bit more. So that part of his personality didn't really change. And things I've noticed personally in my meditation practice is that there are certain qualities that remain the same or got amplified, while others were transformed completely. So in terms of things that were transformed, that would be things that I had was anger. When I first started meditating, I had a lot of emotions of anger, and that kind of just slowly dissipated. Obviously, I'm a human being, so I get angry from here time to time. But the quantity of that has gone down, and the intensity of that has gone down. So even though I do feel that emotion, I feel it, and I feel it strongly, but then it kind of disappears a lot faster than I did when I first started. And then other things were low confidence and kind of self-talk that gradually disappeared, where I no longer kind of relate to it almost. It's kind of like a different world. And then lastly would be like attachment and clinginess to different things. So being very attached to the material world. So that kind of reduced over time. So I'm not as attached or needing different outcomes to happen, rather that I can set intentions or things I'd prefer, but I'm not really grasping for things as much. Now, what about certain things in my personalities that have become the same or actually even amplified? Well, for one is just more of like an easygoing and go with the flow kind of nature. So that's kind of remained the same, when I was 5, 10, 15, 25, it's all been the same. And that really hasn't changed much. And if anything, it's kind of amplified even more, where I'm just a bit more kind of go with the flow, chill, and relaxed. And that's kind of remained the same. And then another thing I've noticed that has remained the same is kind of like a softness or soft quality in me. So this can manifest as like softness in my voice or how I present myself and kind of that soft energy. And that's also remained the same when I was a teenager compared to now. So that hasn't changed much over the course of my meditation. and in fact, might have even amplified a bit more. And then last is kind of that relaxation I was just alluding to, and just being more chill in nature. So that's definitely amplified more. And I've noticed, on the other hand, for other people that have been meditating for a long time, if their personality type is more upbeat and go-getter kind of mentality, that actually amplifies a bit more. So they have more energy and they're like, hey, how's it going? And they're full of life and full of love. But that's them personally. I haven't experienced that myself. On my side of things, it kind of has become just more stable and more chill and kind of just more blissful. So that's kind of the difference between the two. And just realize whatever personality type you have, you'll notice that your general day-to-day experience will kind of amplify. So the good parts of it will kind of amplify more, and you'll become more of yourself. And kind of the bad things, like the bad self-talk that you have towards yourself, or the negativity, that part of yourself will disappear. But there are certain parts of your personality will just remain the same. So just understand how raising your vibration will change you overall, but you'll still remain yourself. So that's not going to change dramatically. You're not all of a sudden going to be super hyper if you're very chill, or if you're very hyper, you're not going to go become like this very stone Buddha where you're just going to sit there and not talk, or maybe talk like one word a minute like Osho. That's not going to happen if you're not already like that. So just understand that, and it's very interesting to come up with these insights as my practice has matured over the years. And it's a great journey to see where I am now and where I'll be in the next decade, the 2 decades from now, and so on and so forth. So meditation is a gift, and I really encourage you to keep meditating to notice how you feel and how things can change in the future. Thanks.